What's interesting is I don't know if that video where BCTV came out, and I think it may have been, but they said we didn't see anything. Actually, we had a strange occurrence take place. One of the lights that I had set up initially, and I think you see me bending over, placing lights on the ground, one of the lights disappeared. And I thought that the battery had gone out on it or it had fallen over and that maybe it was no longer functioning properly. And I looked around, I went over to see where it was to pick it up because I figured it was close by. Couldn't find it, just gone. And there were six of them. The one of those lights, strobe lights, was missing. Well, we packed up, and I thought I'll come back out early in the morning, and I'll find it because it will be obvious where it is. As we're moving towards the car, Chico and I, the TV crew says, "What's that light over just in the slight distance?" And as we looked towards the south, there's this light, and it looks like it's flashing. And as I go over there, there's my light, almost 200 feet away from where I placed it. And I thought, there's no way that anybody would have picked that up and thrown that because we would have seen it flying through the air. We thought maybe an animal had picked it up, purloined it because we thought it was food, and then dropped it, realizing it wasn't. When I went to pick it up, it was 1 foot away from falling into a gully. And it was still operating. It didn't have any animal saliva on it, didn't have any animal smells on it. It was bone dry. So how did it get moved from that one spot to nearly 200 feet away? And I had a psychic impression that we were going to get a major event that would be beyond anybody's doubt that this was ET in action, and this is what they did. So, and the fact was, because the light was still operating, we would have seen it bobbing along the ground if an animal had picked it up. We didn't see that. There was nothing there, and we had people who were in a circle, so one of us would have picked up on this. Those are the kinds of strange things that can take place. So you have to be open and aware to that. Those are what I call the hard contacts, where there is physical things happening in the environment. And then, of course, the UFOs that may show up. When you do this long enough, they start hanging around you. I've had people said, you got a couple of ETs hanging around you probably most of the time. I don't always sense that. They do. That's their ability. You know, it's not my ability necessarily. But my backyard camera picked up this thing in the backyard, and it labeled it as an animal. So I thought, oh, I wonder what kind of animal that is, because I was expecting a raccoon or a squirrel. So I blew it up and I realized that's not an animal. What is that? Well, as I played around with the camera and things, I noticed there was a bunch of things zipping around on the backyard. There's this thing here that shows up and it moves towards the fence. Then there is something that suddenly shows up and it comes out of the wall, moves across the backyard towards the fence, and it kind of moves sort of slightly right and left, and then it starts to move towards this corner, which is where that other light came. So this is the trajectory, right? And then I noticed there was something else that came out of the wall, very tiny. And it just went towards the wall, from here to there. And then there was something else that came from the fence and moved in the same direction towards this corner. So I'm thinking, what do they do? Are they congregating at the corner of the house, or what's going on here? When you look at this amorphous blob, there's a lot of strange things going on here. And this is taken from a video, and I'll see if I can bring that up because that will be probably the last video I can show you. Okay. So just watch whatever is showing up here, but watch this wall. See that? And there's another one that flew, and there was that one there. So there's a number of different things taking place here. And basically, as I say, if you do this long enough, they start to take an interest in you. And they start showing up. I'm of the opinion, though it's hard to prove, they've been living in my house for a while, because we've had things moved around and hear noises when we're downstairs happening upstairs. And my daughters has seen them, my wife has seen them, you know, and now, you know, having this camera is the first time that I have some documented evidence that something unusual is going on around the house. Can't hear you. You need to turn on your speaker.
I was saying that I missed it. Could you show it again? It was I missed it.
Okay, yeah. Let's see. Okay, let me just close it. I'm just going to shrink that. No, that's not it. Okay. And just because it's only about 30 seconds or
right, yeah.
And aliens. Oh, aliens. Okay, here we go. So it's around the 20th second.
Oh.
That's fairly large. That's almost as large as the flower pot. There's another one that just came across, and there's something that just came across on the bottom here. So there's a lot of whatever is going on, and they all seem to congregate in this area. They don't go up to where the camera is, which is up in the upper right-hand corner. They're going down to the lower right-hand corner. And this is also on Facebook, so you can view that as well on Facebook under CSETI and CSETI private group and CSETI Vancouver, and then on my personal Terry Tibando page. Okay, I'm just going to try and wrap this up. So this leaves us with where do we go? What's the end game here? And the end game here is that we need to develop socially and morally in order to become a true partner with the extraterrestrials, where we are the extraterrestrials going out to other star systems. But in order to get there, and I've written a separate chapter on this, I call it planetary unity before global unity before interplanetary unity. And that is, we have to grow up and mature. And we're in an adolescent stage, and that adolescent stage is reckless and out of control. And you see that all the time when you turn on the TV news and listen to it, and you think, what the hell is going on with people? Why? There are some people who show the best in the worst times and the worst in the worst times. and they just lose it. They're just saying, nobody's going to tell me what to do. I'm going to call you a racist. I'm going to tell you to go back home. It's all your fault. I'm going to steal this and do that. And like, I'm thinking, why are we seeing this? And this doesn't um, make us feel very good to be a human being when you got idiots running around creating all kinds of problems. There are people who are actually creating some of the fires in the province
Mm.
deliberately, and stealing equipment from these firefighters. So what's going on here? If we're going to evolve, we have to recognize that there are certain sources that will help us to move forward, whether you belong to a religion or just a very nice person. Be the very nice person, but influence those others around you who are so negative by being that good person. If they're going to turn around and take something from you, then offer to say, look, I see a poor person looking like they need some food. I'm not going to question whether or not he's taking drugs or what he's doing, but he looks like he needs some food. I will go in and buy him some food. Why? Because that's what we're supposed to do as fellow human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's being oppressed racially, stand up for that person. Stand up and say and call out that other person who's being aggressive towards them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're supposed to do as human beings. If somebody needs some money, and we can question, well, he's just going to turn around and use it for drugs. That's not our call. Your call is, what do you do as a positive human being for another human being? When you do that, you're demonstrating the best qualities of a human being without judgment. Judge not others, lest ye be judged. That's a typical Christian quote, right?
Mm-hmm.
It applies to all religions. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Because all religions come from the same source. There's a quote from the Baha'i faith by Abdu'l Baha and the son of Baha'u'llah, who says, one fruitful tree is conducive to the life of society. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
You are a tree. You produce fruits, positive, spiritual, social qualities. You are conducive to the growth and the benefit of that society. If everybody is a fruitful tree, imagine what we can do. The earth would be different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Robert Kennedy said, for men are willing to brave the disapproval of their fellows, the censure of their colleagues, and the wrath of their society. Moral courage is a rarer commodity than bravery in battle or great intelligence. Yet it is one essential, vital quality for those who seek to change the world, which yields most painfully to change. In other words, we're kicking and fighting and screaming and yelling and pulling our hair and having chaos just because there's a change coming about on us.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic is bringing out our true qualities. And if we look at that as a opportunity to grow, we will grow. Look towards the end rather than what's happening right now. You can be so angry and pissed off that you want to lash out, but there is a better world coming, and we can speed it up if we, the individuals, stand up and start doing the right thing as individuals or as a collective group. That's what we have to do. I can read you some more. There's one from Steve Jobs. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify them, or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do, you know. So we're destined, once we get our act together, to be the new ETs. And we can find all of our spiritual inspiration from being Christian, Jew, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, Baha'i, Shamanic, Native American, whatever. If we delve into it and honestly try to exercise those spiritual gifts and bounties that we're all being given, that we can make a different world. In fact, the new age requires a feminine touch. It requires women to take their true place beside men, to exert the feminine power that they have. And for men to learn to find out what their feminine power is. It isn't always aggression.
Right.
So that's where we're headed, and it's up.
So I noticed that you've put up a new group on the 7th, a new field trip.
Yes.
So maybe this group would like to join you on that. I certainly would.
Yes. Okay.
Can you talk about that a little bit before we go?
So I'm going to hold, this is on a Friday. I don't normally do this on a Friday, but I got my brother and in-laws coming over for the weekend, and so I can't really do it otherwise. If I did it on a Saturday, I'm dog tired with my relatives.
Right.
So if I do this Friday night, and hopefully the weather is cooperative, then we'll gather together. So we're going to meet at Lafarge Lake SkyTrain Terminal. We'll be in the parking lot just behind it. It's right beside the lake. 7:30 this Friday. That's I believe August 6th. And you know, be aware that this is a social distancing event. That means that we're going to keep our space when we're up, set up in a circle. We won't have to wear the mask. If you've got friends that you've come with in a car, then you know that's fine. You can congregate. But if you're strangers or not being socializing with other people in the past, don't congregate. Because the last thing I want is for anybody to walk away and say, I went to that event and I got COVID. You know, that's not what I want to hear. And in fact, if somebody does, if somebody gets COVID, boom, I shut it down. That's it. I'm not fooling around with this, because I want people to have an enjoyable experience. I don't want them saying, it was negative and, you know, this, that, and everything else. I want you to have an enjoyable, positive, illuminating experience. I hope that the ETs show up. You can encourage them to show up with positive intentions beforehand by sending that out into the universe and saying they're invited. Come, participate, interact with us, teach us, show us what is different, what is new. And if you are able to assist us to grow and to help humanity move forward, both socially and spiritually, even if it's subtle. You know, that's what we're hoping for. And I mean, ideally, we want to move beyond that, but we have to take small steps. Reminds me of the movie Contact. Anybody see that? You know, Contact, where Jodie Foster plays the lady that is reaching out and is making contact.
Yeah.
And when she arrives at her destination, she sees her father, and she asks, will there be other times? And he said, yes, but small steps, one step at a time. Right? Don't be impatient. It will all unfold. And sometimes things start to happen so fast, it's boggling your mind.
Yeah, and like you said, it depends on the group. So if the group is really ready, hopefully we'll see something. I saw something in the sky the other day. I asked for it, and I saw something, and I hadn't seen anything for many years. And I asked a question. I went into meditation, asked a question, and looked up, and I saw 2 ships. So I feel like you really can do this.
Yeah, I mean, I've known Dr. Greer since, I heard about him since 1992. He had only been operating his CSETI group since 1990. And so Vancouver was one of the earliest locations outside of Dr. Greer's group on the planet that got on board with us right away. And essentially, he had says or had stated a lot of things that didn't come to pass right away because essentially it was his perception that we were going to have contact, and there were going to be the contact was going to be physical, and it was going to happen within a certain period of years. But unfortunately, it didn't unfold that way, and it actually manifested in different ways that even, I think, surprised him.
Yeah.
I was a little more open to the fact that that the ETs were evolving and changing things differently in the way that they interacted with us, because I've been observing this stuff even when I lived in Victoria. I definitely knew that ETs existed since I was 5 years old, but I had seen craft in and around my home or flying overhead or off in the distance. And I realized at that point there was an interest in me. And I don't know why. I just assumed that I was being open to them. And I bought books and I read books on it. And I went to lectures and learned all that I could. And even going to university and trying to understand the science and the physics and the astronomy. And I had to be honest to you, I wasn't that good at it. And but I knew that I was on the right track. And all of a sudden, it was more like when I left university, and over the years, it all started to kick in. I started to understand. And while astronomy looks at stars and cosmology and is there life in the universe, I had already found it. So I had the life experience that they couldn't teach. I'll quickly show you this. So that's the side of it and the back of it. So these are fairly colorful there, and the explanation is on there. This is 840 pages. So that's the first volume. And then this is the second one, which is, it's got 530 pages, which is a lot lighter. And basically, so that's the second volume, cheaper than the first one. This one is probably the second largest one. And so that's volume 3.
Right.
And
does that one have lots of pictures in it?
All of them do. Every book has lots of pictures on it. This is, when you flip, I mean, I also wanted to maintain a certain amount of integrity with actual text, but there's a lot of pictures in all of this. When you get these books, I guarantee you, this is going to be your go-to reference manual. Everything you think you know, I've gone and done the research, and in fact, all the books have references on the text and on the pictures. If you were to go and type it in, it's going to be a lot of work, but if you were to type it in fact, I've got a section on the back of each book of all the references.
Right. That's terrific. Yeah.
And so what I was originally hoping for was to have those references interactive, which means that I'd have to put it on an ebook, and then it might allow you to go to those sites.
Yeah, that would be like live links.
There is enough references that from all 6 volumes, which is 3,600 pages, it's like having a 10,000 page document from all the sites. I've done your work for you. And all you have to do is simply buy the books. But I'm warning people right now, these are not a $25 or $40 book. You're going to be probably looking at possibly over $100 or more, or at least around $85 Canadian plus the tax, and there's probably shipping because you got to order it online. Amazon, Indigo, Chapters, Barnes & Noble, Hudson Books, BAM, which is Books A Million, a lot of American. I noticed that people have bought them in Britain already. I know people in the States have bought them, and there's people in Vancouver that have bought them. And I've sent one off to Israel because I had a little contest I ran, and I showed all 6 volumes. By the way, volume 4 is being printed, so I'm expecting that.
Right.
I've got the volume 5 going through the process of being approved for book cover. So that I expect that out by probably, hopefully by around August or before the end of August. And I should have book 6 out. My daughter is the one who's been helping me with this, and she is now taking a vacation. So I have to wait for her to come back. So you can see that, oh, Jesus, I'm gonna get a workout from all of this, but these are heavy, heavy books.
Well, Terry, you had said to me that you were going to come back in September and talk to us about the latest book. So why don't you do that and maybe break it down a little bit? Because there is some heavy reading there, you know, and maybe you could help out by breaking down the book a bit and introducing us to what you've done.
Yeah, basically, like I have some soft covers in this volume. This is volume 1. Now, I can tell you that volume 1 is the basic primer to all the other books.
Right.
If you got volume 1, you're going to have a good knowledge base of the whole UFO and ET phenomena.
Right.
When you get into the other ones, I'm taking you deeper down the rabbit hole. And what I did was, originally it was about roughly around 3,500 pages or so. And then I went and added some stuff into the 4, 5, and 6 because I needed to keep pace with what was happening out there.
Right.
Right now, if you've gone on the internet and on Facebook and other sites, you'll find that the Navy is pushing an agenda. They're rewriting the script of the UFO phenomena, and they're making it hostile.
Right.
There is nothing, absolutely nothing to date that indicates there is any hostility from UFOs and ETs. And I can say that because I've been involved in it, Greer's been involved in it. There are other CSETI global groups out there. We want to see more CE5 groups started. I don't care if there's a dozen in Vancouver and you want to call yourself CSETI Vancouver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, or something different. It doesn't matter. The point is, if we're all doing this and going out and we're under the stars and we're meditating and we're calling in the UFOs and ETI, they will come. And what I'm suggesting to people is document what you're doing. Get people with cameras photographing it. If you got a tape recorder or video camera, fine, do all of that. Because the more people are doing and putting it up, what we need is a counter balance to the garbage that's being spewed out on History Channel and on Facebook and all the rest of it. The military are thinking in terms of military potential threats. And the fact is, they're more likely to be, you're going to have a trigger-happy individual who's going to suddenly open fire on one of these things. Boom. As soon as that happens, they're going to retaliate. Why is that? Because they're not ET. These are controlled extraterrestrial, or what they call alien alien reproduction vehicles, meaning they're man-made.
Right.
And you usually tell man-made craft because they are nuts and bolts. When you see an ET craft, and because they have evolved over the time period, they're now showing up as bowls of plasma or fluorescent-like lights, and they slip in and out of these dimensions. If a craft is able to return fire on you, you know that that's not ET, because
probably,
they don't do that.
Reverse engineered, right?
As I said, for those who are still listening, this book is in soft cover. I actually have a few at home. I will give you a better deal than what you can get at the bookstore, or if you ordered it online, because you won't be paying shipping costs, and I will give you a discount on the soft cover. So that's the situation. So if you're interested, contact me, Terry Tibando at gmail.com, okay? Tibando. Or you can phone me. So there you have it. And the other books can be ordered online, but be aware that depending on where you order it from, they're going to be charging whatever they think they're going to charge. I've tried to give the price at a certain amount, but I can't guarantee that you're going to get the same price, because they are charging to make a profit. So, but the books are well worth it. So, I have a Facebook site, CSETI Vancouver, and they can go there and post and read and become members if they wish. If you really want my time and attention, terrytibando at gmail.com. That's how you're going to reach me.
Okay. So you don't do like weekly meetings on Facebook?
No, no.
Oh, that's what I thought you did.
No, I will open it up. I will peruse what other people have. I will put out pertinent things that I think are important.
Right.
I have one of the most recent ones was that the government, Pentagon, sent out, what was it, the Director's Office of Naval Intelligence, I think, and they put out an 8-page thing, and I responded to it. And I said, much like Greer has a different take on it, but it's similar, I gave a more historical point of view. I said, the Navy knows what this is, and they're bamboozling everybody by saying they don't. Because they knew during the Second World War what these were, and they knew during Operation Mainbrace, or Exercise Mainbrace, which is a large naval operation of over 200 ships, 10,000 soldiers and sailors, and hundreds of aircraft on the North Atlantic doing naval exercises and sort of preparatory work in case Russia decides to attack any parts of Europe. And when that was going on, UFOs were coming out of the ocean, going into the ocean, flying over the naval ships and off into space. And most of all those soldiers or military people from something like 50 nations or something saw this. So you can't say to me they don't know what this is.
You know what my thing on that is? I think that they're just trying to get more money, that they're using this to get more money, more funding.
And they want to plunge
what
us
they
into...
said is we need more research. Well, you know, citizens have been doing the research. And I mean, that's why what we're doing, we're doing what we're doing. We're bringing on people who are experiencers and researchers, and we're getting our members to tell their stories, because citizen disclosure is probably the only way that we're going to get the truth. I don't expect anything from the government.
Well, that's why I called my books a citizen's disclosure.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Because I spent 8 years digging into it. I had to revamp a lot of what I knew because there was new information and things that were changing all the time. And some of my old thoughts and ideas of what I thought was in the Bible, for instance, was totally erroneous. And it's one of the major flaws in the UFO community. When they look at the book of Ezekiel or the book of Enoch, they're making a huge misunderstanding because they don't understand religious, spiritual writing. And like the book of Ezekiel is actually a prophecy concerning the Baha'i faith. Even though it doesn't say Baha'i faith, it uses the glory of the Lord or the glory of God. That's a Persian term for Baha'u'llah. And that's documented. Mm-hmm. So what are they really understanding? And that's all in the first volume of my book. I go into that and I break it down, and I discovered that the four creatures are actually the four cardinal points on the astrological zodiac. That's what it is. And I found pictures that corroborate that. And when they talk about the eyes around the wheel, those are the stars. And when they talk about the wheels themselves within a wheel, that's the plane of the ecliptic and the equator of the Earth and how it all angles. You have to know astronomy to know that.
There's a lot of hidden stuff there that is coming out. People are looking at the Bible and going, there's definitely ET here all over the place. And even when Jesus talks about being risen and he says, don't touch me, it's the same thing that you were talking about earlier, right? It's interdimensional. Yeah. So people were seeing him, but they couldn't touch him because he was on a different plane, but they were seeing him.
The only one that actually speaks about it, besides the Quran, which talks about life on other planets in the sense of men, angels, demons, and jinns, the four types of ET. That's what they say. They speak about it. Mm-hmm. The Baha'i faith breaks it down and talks about it further and says, know thou that every fixed star, meaning stable star, has its planets, and every planet has its creatures, which no man can compute. In other words, the universe is filled with life. Even if that life is a microbe, or as some native indigenous people believe, rocks have life. In some of the New Age culture, we look at the planet Earth as being feminine. Venus is feminine, Mercury is male, Jupiter is male, Saturn is female, Uranus and Neptune, I think, are male, Pluto is male. In other words, planets have spirits, the Gaia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're intelligent, and they're living, and they're breathing, and they sustain the life of what's on them.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, when you start to understand all of this, you know, you don't have to become overly religious or spiritual. You just have to use common sense and recognize that science and religion are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
One is given through discovery and invention, and the other one is given through inspiration and revelation. And when you understand that it all comes from the same source,
Mm-hmm.
then you marry the two and you realize you got the best of both worlds.
I'm so happy that scientists are starting to see that now, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of scientists are starting to see it, which is wonderful.
And I mean, I'm seriously thinking of pulling out or writing another book totally from a Baha'i perspective, because there's so much in the writings. I mean, it talks about spirit and the development of the soul, etc., etc. But it also talks about other things, and it talks about beings, both visible and invisible, hidden and manifest. Those that are, what is it? Seen and unseen, manifest and hidden. The thing about it is that you apply that to the extraterrestrial intelligence, and you realize, yeah, there are going to be beings out there that we may not even see, that they may be operating on a different plane. We talk about angels and celestial and divine and all these types of beings that we cannot see, but they exist.
Mm-hmm.
The departed ones, the ones that are actually us and whoever else. Just because we can't see them doesn't mean they don't exist.
Oh, well, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, in other words, we humans go through a transformation, like the butterfly from the moth to the, or from the cocoon to the butterfly. And when we are looking at it in that sense, we realize we're more than just what's this,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could go on and on and on this and take you all over the place on this. And
Well,
I'm not saying...
Let's book another one,
No.
because I have to go. We
Okay.
have to stop this one today. Anyway, okay, I'm going to close this down, Terry. Thank you very much.